hello, and rebuild from welcome. I'm
Shut
Sam.
Shut up.
Welcome.
You gotta say I'm Jim, and then I say bracket Sam.
I'm Jim bracket Sam. Welcome to
a train wreck.
welcome to our rebuild of Evangelion podcast.
Doing 3.33, repeating, of course.
Yes, you cannot redo.
Q.
Also known as Persona Q, also known as Evangelion Q.
The one before Shin Evangelion.
Yes.
So yeah, we are here for the third rebuild movie, and if you don't know, Jim has watched all of Eva. It's my first time really going through it, and boy, this thing was a thing.
So there's kind of like a lot of not only just like history behind this, but my own personal history with Ava and this. So like
I don't know exactly your feelings of this, but man, I did not like this at all.
It's very funny because initially I feel like it had a lot of acclaim, or I feel like it is always been very divisive, but I think as time has gone on, people have gotten a lot softer to it and like it a lot more. It was probably more hated when it first came out than the other like installments of Ava have been.
Because like, I had a lot of problems with the second one, but there's stuff in there I really liked, and this one doesn't have nearly as many things that I liked.
Yeah, it uses a lot of CG.
And somehow the pacing is still a problem despite kind of going its own way for the majority of it.
Yeah, it's almost as if they could have done like something different, but they decided to go like in totally different. Like they could have done a more traditional style movie, I guess, like pacing wise, but no, they wanted to do this insane bullshit.
A lot of this did not really feel like Evangelion.
I kind of agree. I kind of agree.
It's funny because I'm not sure what I'm gonna say is blasphemous or not, because I don't know any of the reactions to these.
So I do like this movie. I did like it.
Your first time or your second time, or I'm not sure what number of time this is for you.
So
your history.
I've probably seen it maybe like 3 or 4 times at this point.
And you said you had a history?
Oh yeah, well, the interesting thing about this movie is that it kind of, for me at least, it represented like the most recent Ava thing at the time. Most of the time that I was an Ava fan, because it wasn't until last year that Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 was released, the final rebuild movie.
So what year did this movie come out?
It takes place in the year.
I don't know.
So this is the interesting thing as well. So just a little recap. Our first rebuild movie was 2007, which is about 10 years after the original series was completed. The second rebuild movie was in 2009, and then the third one was in 2012.
And
there's a big asterisk there.
Uh-huh.
The third movie was not released in English until 2016.
Wow, didn't
4 years after it technically premiered at Anime Expo in 2012.
It premiered in America.
In America. And it was for some reason, so this was it may have been a dub and a sub.
So people had to rely on fucking a fan subs essentially if they wanted to watch it.
Yes. So the issue at hand apparently is that the initial translation that was done was not approved enough by Studio Kara, and they decided that they would not release the movie physically or digitally until they had revised the English script, which apparently took 4 fucking years. It was I got into Ava in 2012, maybe that was the first, maybe 2013 is when I got into it. So that was like most of that time getting into Ava, there's this running joke that everyone had of oh, is that movie out yet? Oh, it's been a year. It's been 2 years since the movie came out. Can I buy it now, Anno? And eventually in 2016.
And going by the subtitles that we got when we were watching it, though, I still feel like it's some weird subtitle choices.
Yes. Also, I just want to say too, we'd mentioned Mega 64 before, and they have their Ava things, but obviously Rocco and Garrett of Mega 64 are big fans. They did a spoiler cast for this movie when it had initially come out.
Were they? I'm assuming they were at Anime Expo because I know there's a California convention. I'm pretty sure.
No, actually, it was in New York, I believe.
Okay.
But I don't think they were, but they did. So this is how they described their watching experience. So they must have not seen that version, and there wasn't an official translation out yet. They probably watched pirated versions of it, and they literally had printouts of the script in their hands and were reading line by line because it had not been subtitled yet. That is how that is like the state of the Ava fans at this point, like
grasping for everything.
They want it so badly.
So bad that they're reading like the fucking script essentially.
Which I'll never forget that. I think that's so funny. Also, I highly recommend that. I think that video is still up. I love that video. Good old Mega 64.
I'm hoping they would do a version for the rebuild so I can understand better what the fuck is happening in this thing.
I also know, and I want to watch it. They did a commentary for the newest one.
Okay.
The newest Ava, they did a commentary for, which I want to watch. But
so yeah. So
I do want to say this movie is it's called Evangelion 3.0 You Cannot Redo, also known as
3.33.
Yeah, well, so that's like when the movie is released, the DVD version, they would add like the same number. So originally it was called 1.0, then it was 1.11, then it was 2.0, and then the release came out 2.22. So this was also called Evangelion, the new movie Q. Q stands for quickening, apparently.
Quickening. Like when the Flash goes crazy, it's called the quickening.
So yeah, I guess that's really like all like the background before we actually talk about we're
supposed to watch shorts, but I'm not sure if the shorts have anything to do before or after this movie.
So because there was such a long period of time between the release of this movie and the final Ava rebuild, there were a few shorts that had come out that are semi-canonical. The one is like literally like a direct sequel to the movie. Like it kind of picks up like right at where we left off, but we'll watch those before we watch
4.
Yeah, so maybe I don't know if we'll lump that into the 4.0 discussion.
We'll probably just lump it into 4. It's like a prologue kind of to it. It could probably be easier.
Yeah, it's hard to. They're kind of interesting. They're more just like, because I want us to kind of cover like all the Ava like stuff. It'll just be kind of interesting to like. One is kind of like K-On! One is kind of like a CG
K-On!
movie. Yeah, K-On!
Interesting.
Yeah, we'll get to it. But there's one that is actually really, really good, and it's the most like canonical. Whatever, we don't even talk about this now. Yeah. But so, yes, your thoughts of this movie. Crack your egg open and spill those beans.
I was thoroughly confused by this movie. Like the few interesting things are not elaborated on at all, or just feel like they're cut out. Like I honestly did not really like this at all. It didn't feel like Ava.
You didn't seem to really have a lot of fun. You were talking through a lot of it, trying to like rationalize what was happening, which was very funny to me. Especially, I was excited for your reaction to Toji's sister. That was the one moment that I was like, "Oh my god, I cannot wait for Sam." And the 14-year time skip, which is they kind of do those reveals together.
Yeah, because obviously starts out with Shinji being like extracted essentially, and just kind of getting what the fuck's going on.
Well, it actually begins with a really bad-looking fight scene.
Yeah, with Asuka's there. She has an eye patch. With like, okay, first off, Asuka eye patch looks good. I like her suit being duct taped. I think that's good. Her Ava's like a Frankenstein now.
I really want to like. We'll cut out some time to talk about Asuka in this movie, but Asuka in this movie feels like her own individual version of Asuka to me. Like, she is such a specific. She leaves such like a specific impression that it doesn't feel like the Asuka from 2.0, and it doesn't feel like the original Asuka.
No.
It's interesting. I don't think it's bad.
And he's supposed to be like 14 years have gone by.
Yeah, she's like more mature mentally.
But not really though, because she's still the same fucking like stereotype of Baka Shinji. Or
actually, now
I know it's brat Shinji.
It's Gaki. I think Gaki's the word for brat.
Yeah, it's essentially the same
brat
thing.
Shinji.
It's just
now.
like I changed my catchphrase slightly
to get your attention, Baka. I mean Gaki.
Because, like, I guess she's been around for 14 years now.
Yep.
But Shinji literally just got out his fucking coma.
He did?
It's weird.
So, yeah. So what happens, the movie begins with, like, an epic space battle where Asuka had been launched into space.
A weird, like, another duct tape, like, panel, or just, like, a panel.
They just kind of, like, threw together these gigantic rockets for her to use.
Mari's here, and I'm like, roll my eyes.
So to me, what seems like happened. So maybe we should actually just talk about the time skip, because there is a lot of things that happened in between these two movies, in between 2.0 and
So
3.0.
I've seen my share of time skips in manga and
It's
anime,
true.
and there's ways to there's good ways to do it, and there's bad ways of doing it, and I think this is more of a bad way of doing it.
I think it depends on your frame of reference. Like, so I want to go back to the original, like, the problem that I identified in the original series, where Ava is like two wolves. There's two wolves inside of you. One cares about the characters, the other cares about the plot.
Yes.
So I think if you care about the plot, you're gonna be like, that wolf is gonna be abused. It's gonna be starved. It's gonna have like no human contact. But if you care about the character of Shinji, I think that there really is like a nice through line that carries from at least the last Rebuild movie. That kind of, I don't know. Like, I think
I said the last.
it's really failing at like handling the plot wolf in this one.
Yeah, because like it's a lot of whole new bullshit going on that they're just throwing words around, and you're like, yeah, you put that on, you understand, right? I'm just like, I don't know what's happening now. There's new shit. It's not like anything.
A lot of new characters.
Yeah, new side characters, and it's just like I try to. It's hard to wrap your brain around it because you're just like shooting shit out like crazy. And the thing that I was super interested about in the last one was the character stuff.
Yeah,
because they were having more like, like the Shinji Rei stuff with like I said in the last one. That was the most interesting thing to me, and I wanted to see more of that. And they just get rid of that in this one by just setting Rei. It's like setting Rei back to square zero, and I hate that.
Yeah, and it's kind of the point though.
I know it's the point, but like
it's unsatisfying as someone that was like really into, because I was the same way. Like, I loved Rei, and then you watch this movie and you're like, this really isn't Rei.
And Rei's hardly a thing in this movie. She's just there.
She is kind of just there. There's a couple like important details about her though. She uses a special Ava that's not actually an Ava.
They said it was like the vessel for Adam.
I think they called Adam's vessel.
Yeah.
So it appears to be some sort of like ultimate. It's kind of like a symbiote, I guess. Like, it has like that kind of same like regeneration-y. It can just kind of take whatever form. They do kill it, presumably.
I guess so.
But yeah, so it makes like a giant rocket on itself in one scene. It's very strange, but yeah. So Rei as a character is basically
is literally back to square one.
It's almost worse than that because
she's literally just a robot.
Rei had like a little bit of like personality, like she did the reading thing, and then this one
and she had the glasses too that she actually has some kind of care.
Yeah. She doesn't really care about Gendo. She only really cares about
orders.
Yeah, doing what she's ordered to do.
Which I feel like she's like, I don't have the order. That someone tried like, oh, I order you to stand down. She's like, okay.
She probably would have just said, oh, well, you're not Gendo.
Gendo doesn't interact with anybody. Like,
he probably sends her DMs.
Gendo's like nothing in this movie. He does his own thing, but like he's not like a factor to anybody really. Like, you see Shinji once, but nothing comes from like anything.
Yeah, well, he's still like the plan machinations guy.
Yeah, he's just sitting there plotting and like everything going according to plan, evil bad guy thing. And you're like, I don't understand how all this stuff could go according to plan like this, but sure.
So I think we should take a minute to discuss
the beginning.
I would say let's begin with the time skip really quick.
Yeah,
just so we can actually kind of like maybe fill in some gaps.
Because it's 14 years past. They just get Shinji now. You don't really. They said Shinji was like in space. They extract him from, and like because like he wasn't.
And he was in like a giant like that weird coffin cross thing. That
he wasn't
we've
in his
seen
pod.
That kind of a few times in the series.
And as we learn, like everybody else wasn't in there. And I like was he? Is this supposed to be like, similar to like when he was like fused with like inside the Ava, where he kind of disappeared for a month or two? Like,
yeah, I definitely think that we're getting that. It's funny because looking at this movie, you can draw like a lot of similarities to specific episodes in like the late second half of Ava, and that's kind of one of them is him getting like trapped in the weird meta universe for months.
Nothing comes from it because he's just in a coma. Like there's no like you don't see what he's seeing or going through. He just shows up and like, hey, what's going on? I just woke up from a coma. Like you could have just done a coma, and nothing would have been missing.
I guess
at least in this movie.
I guess you're literally right because he wouldn't have aged, but it's supposed to be more of like a metaphorical, like he's out of time kind of thing.
Yeah, but still, it's literally just a coma 101 or like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to like defend the writing because it is kind of like It is like a kind of like a cliched writing thing, especially in anime. Anime always has like time skip
when
stories.
he disappeared for a month, we still saw what he went through, like some of the weird, like what basically wrestling with like with his mind essentially, and like his emotions, psychological stuff going through. And this one, you don't see any of that. He just wakes up. You hear some like, I guess some little details and everything. We see like we see like basically see all the new characters. Like we see like it's like two of the characters that like from the tech people.
Yeah, so there's
see Maya, who's just more of like fucking young men.
And wow, we literally only see her for like that one shot.
We see the long-haired guy who looks like Dunban from Xenoblade Chronicles, like 100%. I can literally show you a picture and be like, wow, he actually does look like this character from Xenoblade Chronicles 1.
Or you mean the Xenoblade Chronicles character looks like him? Actually, I don't know what year.
I'm pretty sure Xenoblade Chronicles 1 probably came out before or around the same time.
I don't know,
but no. But what's it called? Yeah, and we see Ritsuko with her short hair, which I'm like,
I like short hair Ritsuko.
I don't like that design too much on her, but you mentioned like she's still dyeing her hair.
Yeah,
which is very funny. They still have yellow hair dye in like this like limited resource world.
She uses pee.
But
she just uses pee.
We see what's it called? Misato, who's just commander lady. She's very
Misato is Gendo-fied.
Yes,
Misato's Gendo maxing in this movie.
This is done bad. Probably.
Yeah, that looks kind of similar.
But
Misato has kind of become the new Gendo in this,
yes.
And it's very much like a deliberate parallel. The way that she won't talk to Shinji, she won't like acknowledge Shinji, but it's a reverse where like she won't even use Shinji. Like Gendo wanted to use Shinji for his own. Misato doesn't want Shinji to do anything.
And I think I said this while we were watching. I'm like, it doesn't impact the same like way as it would have in the original series, because the original series we had that relationship build up and Misato character where like it would feel like a weird 180, like what happened to her. And but this one we don't have that relationship. We don't see any of her stuff she goes through at all. Like
one thing that I have difficulty with the rebuilds is I can't see this Misato as the original Misato because she just was not given that same development. And she wasn't given the same amount of complexity. And
I'm like, so
it doesn't really work.
She's going anti-nerve. I'm like, the original Masato, yeah, I would have believed that. But this one, like, she had one like throwaway line of like, what are they up to out of nowhere, which was kind of came out of nowhere. We talked about because she knows about Lilith and everything.
Yeah,
and
she was like way more integrated in like the shadowy parts of Nerve. Where in the original series, it was like her whole arc of like discovering the shady stuff was really compelling, and also
what's it called?
Makes sense.
And what's it called? Kaji is still alive, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Kaji nowhere to be seen in this movie.
He wasn't mysteriously shot off. I
think the only like we hear
they have one throwaway line,
but then I think we do see his watermelons where his watermelons used to be.
I guess so,
because we see like a busted up like water spigot.
Yeah, I guess that's supposed to be that.
Yeah,
but yes, and like I was right. He like not there. Like, and we get I was like at first I saw like this brown-haired Asuka, like looking Asuka character. I'm like, is this really like Asuka's mom or something? Like, I keep thinking like, is this like a weird parallel world they went to because it's winter time now. It's snow and like is this like we're supposed to be like, oh, there's no winter time anymore. It's all just heat and like spring essentially. And no, but it's the same world, just time skip. It's weird.
Sam and it was so convinced it was an alternate world. I told you. I was like, Sam, it's not.
It feels... you can see where I was coming from. Like, she does look like Asuka more than she looks like Toji's sister.
It does kind of feel like one of those, like, dark timeline things.
Yes.
Like, and I guess it literally is, but, like, it does feel like
the... What's it called? Like in Dragon Ball, like the future Trunks world, or is it not? It's like a parallel future kind of thing.
Yeah,
like that kind of vibe. Where like there's still some characters around here and they're different because of like what happened.
And I think the whole point is supposed to be like there is no going back. Like the movie subtitle you cannot redo. Like even like you're not supposed to think that this is something that is like avertible. This happened and it can't be changed. Even if you do get the 2 magic spears Shinji, you can't undo all of the trauma that everyone experienced.
Yeah.
And that's something that's really important that is kind of glossed over is remember characters talking about how horrible the second impact was? Like,
yes.
It's like one throwaway line in like the Nerve flashback episode, but Futsuki talks about like the first year after the second impact was like so horrible that he doesn't even want to talk about it. Like words don't do the horrors of how Earth was justice before humans like got back on their feet. And another one of those happened.
Pen
Pen is not here.
He's dead.
But so another impact another impact happened, like as they call it, a near third impact happened.
And I'm like, so it's like there's like a kind of like a mass extinction, but not. I guess it was like a lot of people did die, but I'm like, so how like the certain people like from like how did Toji's sister randomly be one of the people that are alive, and like were the people in the nerve base, and like had like Asuka was like basically at ground zero, or not Asuka was at ground zero, but like Mari was at ground zero essentially.
Mari was, yeah.
But and I was just like, how did some of these people survive this? I like, and I don't know, just a lot of it wasn't like answer because we literally just cut away after like Shinji leaves. We don't see anything from the Misato side, and I hated that.
So there is kind of it's not really clear, but it seems like there was a gigantic war of some sorts where there was like it looks like millions of Evas or something were created. Like it maybe I'm not exactly like reading this right, but the amount of like dead bodies, and like we see these Eva carcasses, or like these, they kind of look like the rebuild or the mass production Eva carcasses.
Yeah.
They're like all over the place, and they're really destroyed, and we see all these things that like we don't know how these things happen. So the last we saw was when Shinji like did his special magic to save Rei. He caused third impact to begin, and then in the after credit scene, I think it's literally the after credit scene. Karu comes and stops it with the spear of Cassius or whatever.
One of the spears.
Yeah, one of the two spears. And the point is that so impact didn't happen. Like we see it's stopping here, but there was clearly like some ensuing conflict. I kind of assume that it was kind of the events of End of Eva, like where Seele invaded Nerve. I'm assuming it was kind of maybe instead of that happening, it was Misato creating an uprising against them.
And again, you don't get that feeling from this Misato. Like we hadn't.
Yeah, she's very shut off.
The factors that would go into it are not explored, or like in this movie. Like I said, if you watch these movies as a standalone, like you don't get that understanding at all. And I'm like, these movies are being their own thing. You kind of like, oh, maybe they should be, tied up to what their world they're doing in these movies, and you don't get that. Like, you have to like make it be a regular movie. Then you gotta do get the pacing right. You gotta like,
because that's I keep thinking, and like I know that there's probably people who have heard about Eva and they're like, oh, well, the original series is like 2 seasons long, even though it's not. It's technically 1 season. And they would be like, oh, well, there's movies. I'll just watch the movies instead. And I just think of how confused. Because, like, ostensibly, the first Rebuild movie, like, is a substitute for the first quarter of the series. Like, but then going forward, it is very much not. It is like a extremely, not derivative, but like branching out sequel that just does incredibly different things.
And I'm like, going from like the rebuilds that when we watched it beforehand, I'm like, how can anybody understand and like get behind Asuka compared to the original one? Like we get a deep understanding of her and her psyche. And this one, she just is just the stereotypical view of Asuka of being the jerk that just automatically hostile to Shinji, but she just also just likes him now like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm just like, I can't like this character because if I watch this movie, I'm like, she is just the stereotypical tsundere that I've heard so much about. This character was like the original of.
Yeah.
Like the Flanderization of Asuka, like of just being like Baka Shinji, like.
I won't spoil it, but there is something they do with Asuka, a decision they make with Asuka in the last movie that like I'll never get over how much I dislike it.
Oh boy!
I think it's one of the biggest like missteps in the series.
I mean, they've already got rid of her German last name, or just made it like her middle name or something.
Yeah, what is she? Asuka Langley Shikanami now?
Something like that. So,
Asuka Surya Shikanami.
Well, we'll get to that, but they do a similar thing in this movie too, which I also did not like a lot.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, with the time skip as well, like like I said, everybody's like weird. There's maybe a little thing. Also, okay.
So one big thing is that we see way later is there's kind of like that End of Eva Rei head is been separated from the body, and it's kind of like how Lilith was like in that weird state where it was growing and they had spears to stop it. They kind of do that again, but we see a lot of End of Eva imagery in this one.
Yeah,
like intentionally.
The end of the movie did feel like kind of like End of Eva, but like everybody's right here on like this red, red world.
Yeah.
No, but I'm trying to think. Like their battleship. They're basically flying around on like the new battleship or the new base.
Wunder.
Terrible design.
I really don't like the design of Wunder. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to evoke that sort of like bioorganic thing that Evas have.
Yeah.
Because it's powered by Eva Unit 1. That's like an important detail.
And they haven't, I guess, opened up. I think they said they did a search of 01, didn't find Rey or anything, but...
So the scene in the beginning where Asuka's in space, that was them retrieving Unit 1. So that's one thing I wanted to mention in the time skip. For some reason, in the time between the two movies, Eva Unit 1 was sealed in that big coffin and sent into space.
Okay.
Because why else would it be there? It was, for whatever reason, who knows whose plan it was. But so Asuka had to get it. So then, presumably, them putting that in the core of the Wunder is what caused Shinji to come back.
Okay.
Presumably, I'm guessing.
And also, like, yeah, because everybody, like, super cold to Shinji. I'm like, if they just explained anything to Shinji, Shinji probably would have gone along and did everything. And I guess supposed to be, like, the Gendo equivalent thing. But I'm like, literally, they could have, like, Shinji be left alone with, like, with Toji's sister. Yeah. And then she could be, like, the one person that's, like, talking to him about this stuff. And you're going to get, like, okay, Shinji...
And he makes out with her.
No. But, and...
It's kind of, well, I think what the point is, like, we're supposed to be doing an inverse of episode 1, where, like, Shinji is coming to, like, the Eva battle, there's an angel attack, and he's like, instead of saying, I don't want to do this, he's saying, Misato, put me in there. Like,
I could not keep track of this angel fight. Like, I had no idea what they were supposed to be, like, fighting. And
so they're not really angels, actually. This is going to be a little more explained, I guess, in the next movie, but these are, like... I don't really talk too much about it, but it's definitely not the same threat that...
Yeah.
It's not the angel threat, because the angel threat was always, like, one creature, or a creature that's split into two, but it's, like, these are, like multiple creatures that are, like, the same Pokemon type kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, but then... But yeah, all this shit, like, Shinji's, like, watching, or everybody just being cold and, like, not...
Okay, one thing I wanted to say. So, like, imagine... Like, maybe they just, it hurts too much to talk about. Like, imagine if this was like Shinji went missing on 9/11 and like 14 years later he shows up. Nobody would have the heart to tell him what 9/11 actually was like. You know what I mean? That's kind of the vibe I'm getting.
But at least, like, you can still be, like, vague enough to, like, give him some kind of understanding.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, tropey things where it's annoying that I'm like, everyone is not, like, communicating with Shinji.
I'm like, you gave him every reason to leave. Like,
it's true. I think the point is that they all kind of hate Shinji because Shinji, like, ended the world. Like, going back to, like, how horrible the world was after the first or the second impact. Everyone that we know, all these characters experienced that when Shinji did the the third impact.
Yeah, I mean,
so they hate him. They think he's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, they put a bomb collar on him essentially. So
yeah, the DSS choker.
Yeah, they put the battle royale collar on him. They tell him you can't sink anymore. You can't basically be a pilot anymore.
0% sink rate, yeah.
But basically, like, Rey busts him out and basically said, like, yeah, you just don't get to a pilot. Don't pilot an Eva again because shit's gonna happen if you do. Or that's the only thing Toji's sister says.
Yeah, nobody wants him to go in an Eva, basically.
Yeah.
Rey doesn't care. Rey's just doing what she's ordered to. So yeah, Rey's new mech is actually pretty cool. I like the way that, like, the eye operates. That was something that was really striking to me the first time I saw the movie. The way that, like, the eye kind of behaves like a real, like, iris. Yeah.
It's like a camera lens kind of thing to it.
And then I think it's kind of dumb that it just grows like a gigantic, like, rocket booster and boosts away. It's kind of stupid.
I like it had this scythe later on, which is like...
The scythe is cool.
I wish he actually used it.
Yeah, she didn't really use it.
But, yeah, then that's basically the end of what we see with, like, the time skip people. Like, and I'm, like, very disappointed. I'm like, I would have loved to have, like, more hanging out with them and, like, learning about the world slowly with them instead of just going to, like, okay, you're just going to go back to nerve stuff here.
It is a very strange, like, decision to have introduced. So they're called Vil or Villy. That is the German word for will, obviously. Yeah. Like the idea of like a free will, I guess. But they are like this new anti-nerve force.
They're literally like the rebels.
Yeah, it's essentially a rebels thing. So presumably, like, they had like a big conflict with Nerve.
They want to destroy all the Evas.
It seems like Nerve is using like these angel-like things to attack them.
And they have Wunder now to be like an anti-angel / Eva.
That one scene where they fight the big like angel core things is really bad looking.
Yeah.
It's not funny or good. And like something you said, like you just kept saying this doesn't feel like Ava, and that's all I could think of. Like, so they have this big ship that has these like flimsy looking wings, and then
it had like hand wings.
yeah, these angels like attach their tethers to it, and somehow it's able to like start spinning wildly and destroy all these angels without breaking. And all I can think is like how much collateral damage there would be in the original series. Like in End of Ava, when Asuka was moving, there was so much weight to the Ava. Like she couldn't just like do impossible bullshit like this. It would just break apart.
Even like the whole like cockpit thing was just like a busy design that I wasn't like super into. Like the new side characters, I'm like, I like having like a 3 minimum side character thing.
Yes.
But this one you have like pink haired girl with big lips that I'm like,
she's got a very striking design.
I'm like, you don't look like an Ava character. There's
there's
like a Garo girl. I'm like, you don't look like an Ava character. There's like the old guy, bald beard man. It's like you don't look at an Ava character.
I feel like there's one other new guy, maybe not. Then we have the 2 returning guys.
I'm just like, if you're like could be from Trigger or a Guy next show. It's like Gurren Lagann or something like that. Or
that
like,
one girl really looks like a Trigger character, the pink haired girl.
Like, they're all from various different Guy next or Trigger shows.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this doesn't. I don't like that. I like seeing like the 3. If you just we only saw I think 2 of the classic engineers. We saw Maya and we saw the dumb band.
No, we actually saw the nerd guy too.
Did we?
Yeah, he just had like a little bit of sideburns.
Oh wow, he really got an upgrade there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
everyone's a little more hardened. Everyone's a little more like on edge.
I just wish we saw more of that because I feel like this is a spin-off show we're going to have of like these people, and we don't have anything like that. And
I think that like from an emotional standpoint, we're following Shinji. I guess it works in that regard, but
like
when we start to disregard every other character, it really hurts. It hurts the series. I think
the thing about a time skip in anything, you can put. I can tell you. Give me an anime about the time skip that I would know about. I can probably give you a good comparison. What's something you? Hey, it's like anime. Like you see a time skip. What do you want to see when you come out of a time skip?
I want to see all of the 9-year-old characters.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the curse, but you want to see 2. Like one, what the characters we know and love. What they have a new design and what they've been up to, and like and how they improved or I guess like degraded. I guess maybe in the time area and finding out what happened. Like. It's like a kind of an epilogue. You want that resolution or like the information about what happened to everybody. But when you just cut to them, they act differently, but you have no explanation really of what happened to it because we have no build up really to any of these characters. Like
we're never given the time
like they say
any specific character to really like know how they are now because everyone is just like angry at Shinji, so that anger is kind of prevalent or just the only prevailing emotion that we see in these scenes.
Like I said, okay, we got Messiah, okay, got a new design, okay. She put 14 years like wiser, I guess, but then she's a completely different character, but we don't know how or why she's like this. There's no character growth that we saw in the original series, so we can't get that satisfaction.
I think presumably, I think you can infer. I guess
you can infer, but like
that she's like hardened. Like losing Shinji and being betrayed by Shinji was kind of like the final. Well, what she views as a betrayal is like the final straw. Like that was like the one human connection she had besides Kaji, I guess.
Yeah, but we have nothing with Kaji. Kaji has more to do with Shinji than he does with Misato.
It's true. Yeah, he was pretty important to Shinji's character in the last movie.
And then what's it called? And then, but the fact that they also do the thing I did not like was the fucking Ava curse.
The curse of the Ava,
which just also takes away of like, okay, how we could see how our characters, our protagonist group and side characters change, but they don't because they don't age. Like they're still like Asuka had her uniform changes. That's basically it, and she's still like she changed her catchphrase from Shaka Baka Shinji to Brat Shinji.
I think she. I think Asuka, it's kind of interesting to think about her compared to the last movie because she was so like tropey in the last movie and like so like, oh Shinji, I'm actually secretly in love with you. Her anger in this movie feels like a proper development. I think Asuka is actually one of the elements like I'm more okay with in this movie.
I don't know. She's still. I still didn't feel nothing with her in this one. Like I said, we don't spend time with Asuka at all. Like
and that's one of the problems with these is like
her character growth is she's working with Mari and she calls her Four Eyes, which is just like okay, this is whatever.
Yeah, and presumably they've been working together for 14 years. So
I guess so.
Imagine that hate.
Wow, that's
hate
look at this friendship that we're really seeing. Yeah,
but like. I think one of the problems these rebuilds have is they simultaneously want to be a sequel to the last movie and also the original series. They want to, because like,
but they don't do a good job of either one of like
kind of like. So I'm trying to like think about this like in a really abstract way, but Asuka as a character in the original series is extremely immature. She's very like emotionally unstable. We see that again in the second movie, but it's a different flavor. It's more of like she's like a teenage girl now who actually has like less trauma, more love. And in this movie, it's almost like a merging of like what would happen in the long run. Like her weird like hatred against the world has become like a real like dark pessimism. Like she's extremely like enraged that Shinji exists in a way that is like quiet and like more focused than it ever was, because she'd always like yell and be like annoying, but in this her reaction is to like punch glass so hard it shatters, like, and that's all she can do. She can't even like talk to him.
She has super strength to punch through this fucking like or crack open like probably a bulletproof, destruction proof wall, I guess.
And also kind of going off end of Evangelion, like her kind of like realizing that, oh, the Eva is where I'm most at home, because she's like really competent in this movie, which she kind of wasn't in the original series until then. Like the whole joke was that Asuka's the best pilot, but most of the series she's not.
She was the best pilot when she got introduced, and then her like fucking levels went down the entirety afterwards until end of Eva. Just like, oh, I'm happy with myself now.
Yeah, her hormone levels just tanked her scores.
And like, so the curse of the Eva. So like. So I guess is she stuck going through puberty nonstop now? If they never age?
Presumably, no.
Once you get into like the pod of an Eva, or you get into an Eva, is that when the curse afflicts you? I think
it's
this
probably
a way
like
to go through immortality? Is to just go into an Eva once and then you just never age from there on out?
But the problem is you have to kill your mom first.
Is this why Masato doesn't really age anymore?
Well,
14 years later.
Well, Misato didn't go into an Eva.
You don't know. In the all time, like, okay, yeah, we're gonna abuse this curse of an Eva.
Ritsuko does seem to have like crow's feet. So Ritsuko does look like she aged a bit. I think Misato's supposed to look like she's aged a little bit.
But yeah,
she's only 40 though, so
only.
I mean, that's still pretty young.
Yeah,
Misato's like destined to be a MILF, even though she's not a mom.
We all know like the Asian aging method of like you don't age until you hit like 65 and then you age like in 24 hours.
it's true.
No, but yeah, it's just. This them having a not aging thing is very bad. I know you said like, but they wouldn't be figures. I love seeing an aged up design. Like that's what I love. Like one thing I love about what's it called? Like the Naruto designs. Like they went from kids and you see them like aged up to like young adults, and like okay, this is like I like a lot of these designs. Or you see like the One Piece times, you see how they change through there, and not aged up, but you see like how. I don't know. A lot of them aren't really aged up too much, other than like a handful of them. But like, see the little character changes, little like design changes. I like to see that. But Asuka basically is just like her plug suit design. Mari does not change at all.
Mari's identical.
Rei just has a different plug suit. We understand why it's not different Rei, but like Shinji is basically Shinji. Like nothing changes.
I think that's kind of the point.
Oh, Shinji
understand.
Shinji at least understand, but like yeah, no.
I think that's kind of the point, because like stagnancy is something that Anno has spoken about a lot. I'm getting really like I'm really grasping at straws to like try and find meaning behind this movie, but stagnancy is like I think really relevant to Eva as a series, because it kind of created like an entire generation of like bad anime.
Yeah.
And stagnancy in terms of like not being creative and also just kind of relying on the same brand for decades and decades. Like it's almost like a joke that the characters don't age, because they can't age. Like Asuka can't get older. Like Shinji can't get older. They have to be that age forever.
It would have been so interesting to see
Adult
Asuka as an adult, like seeing her how she is when she matures now. And like Shinji not aging could just be something from the effect of where he was found in, like the coffin or whatever. Like it would have been so fascinating.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I feel like I watched an anime recently that had a similar thing where the actual girl like ages up and the guy doesn't, and it's like the relationship just changes because it is a total like it's an adult woman. Like Asuka is, I know she is literally an adult woman here, but she still does behave like Asuka. Like she still looks and behaves like our Asuka from the original series, like 14-year-old Asuka.
It would have been interesting to be like of how Asuka, she went through the shit as a mature young woman, would react to seeing Shinji, who caused all this bullshit, and like not really like understanding that he did that.
She pulls out a Glock and puts one in his fucking forehead.
Maybe actually explains what's going on to him and why like we're very distrustful of you, kind of thing. Like I should kill you right now, but I gotta do what's right.
Yeah, it is a little contrived that no one talks to him for a while, but whatever. I already said that.
But yeah, but
Okay, let's. Where are we in the plot right now?
We're basically going to the nerf stuff now.
Oh yeah, so Shinji gets saved by Rei.
Yeah,
which he also has like a psychic connection with her.
Well, maybe you think, is this that Rei, or is it like maybe the Rei in the pod still, just telling him to get the fuck out of there?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Kind of guiding him, being his guardian angel in a way.
Yeah, and the way he kind of like calls out to her, and the moment he calls out to her is when she finds him. It's like interesting, and they kind of don't really.
Because they say
Rei,
the Rei no longer exists. So you're like, what the fuck does that mean? Even though basically assume that Rei's still in the pod somewhere. And I thought, okay, oh, the plot's gonna be Shinji wanting to get back to Unit 1 is gonna be his motivation for his movie, and it wasn't though.
But so if we are to presume that like the events of End of Eva happened then, and we kind of saw the giant naked Rei, maybe that was that Rei. Like maybe something did happen. Maybe she got out in some way, or
I hope she got out, because like I feel like that's the thing I'm interested the most about in these movies. That I get no resolution on.
Yeah, well.
So yeah,
So as they're getting away, Misato has the chance to kill Shinji with his choker, his goth girl choker,
his battle royale choker,
and she chooses to not kill him.
But now
Ritsuko's like, "Do it, kill him,
fucking do it." I do like, oh, now if Shinji ever comes, like if Shinji does sneak back to the base, she'll just look at her detonator like, in range, like, oh man, he's here.
Yeah. Essentially,
but again, they can detect an Eva activating.
That's true. That's fine. They kind of could do that before.
I know, but the thing is, he can't really sneak up upon it. Oh, he's obviously coming or up to something.
And essentially, it's kind of like a Chekhov's gun. Like we have the choker on Shinji. We know that it's probably gonna explode at some time.
Yeah, but no one has really said anything. Oh, we can probably try to get this off. But no, if he go back to Nerve, we see Nerve's terrible new logo.
Yeah,
it looks like I put into an 8-bit filter.
It looks like when like a bad company tries to like redesign their logo and they fail.
Yeah, really.
It makes it like harder to read.
They try to go for a more simplistic look to somehow, even though it had a simplistic look to it as is.
Nerve tried to be like the new Google and like the time skip.
Everybody hated it. But no, yeah, and we get that.
So we see a lot of familiar locations.
Yes,
which I thought was really cool.
A lot of them were destroyed. Except for the escalator. The escalator lived.
Yeah, the escalator did live. We see like the scene where Shinji first saw Unit 1. We see
like basically we saw like the melted Nerve HQ, the top of it like melted down.
See the pyramid. It's really cool to see and like to kind of replace yourself, because the beginning of the movie, I guess it's supposed to be in like Antarctica because there's like snow and icebergs.
I guess so.
But we don't really like see. We're not really grounded. But now we're finally like, okay, this is where it happened. We're back.
I think we see Gendo for a little bit, and he got rid of his cool glasses, and now has a stupid visor, like a cyberpunk visor. It looks like if you're playing a game and you find equipment that changes your character's appearance, and you just like left it on because it helps with stats.
Yeah, even though you don't like it,
you got rid of the cool like default appearance and just put that on.
Yeah, I'm playing Castlevania Symphony of the Night recently, and you play as Alucard, and he's like this cool vampire guy. But there's like items that you like find and equip, and thankfully it doesn't change your look, because I had to switch up sunglasses, which it like literally lowers your like intelligence, but it makes you cool. It makes your power like better. And I had to change it with goggles, and I felt like, how goofy would Alucard look like with fucking goggles on? Thankfully, they don't actually animate that on the character. But.
Yeah. So we basically we basically leave from Gendo stuff, and then basically Shinji like has a room now.
So it's really, there's a lot of like kind of like hidden horror, which I like. Like
Shinji eats paste.
Shinji does eat gross paste. There's a scene later where he gets a shirt that's too big, and inside the shirt is Toji's name is written, and that scene is really quick and it ends really abruptly, and I find that scene to be really like good. Like it's very like horrifying.
It raises questions about what happened. Like it's just leftover stuff they're like salvaging from the nearby area, the fuel clothing. Like they just find off a dead body and just fucking ripped it off.
Yeah, it's really disturbing. Also,
Toji didn't, but Toji never wore that fucking uniform. He always wore a sweat jacket.
He always did have his like tracksuit on. Yeah. Well, presumably he had at least one white shirt.
Maybe. I do like. I'm not sure that line is later on, but Shinji's like Toji. What's the other class's name? Kensuke and class rep. I'm like, you never learned her name.
He doesn't say What's your name, Hikari?
But no, yeah, but it was just like we get some stuff with he gets his Walkman, and
Oh, so that was actually the only other thing that they recovered from the pod.
yes,
The Walkman came with Shinji.
yes, it's not working right now, but we find, and we also he apparently Gendo gave it to him, which I find it very hard to believe.
Or well, he says my dad's Walkman. So either I think I said that, and you're like, no, he probably stole it from Gendo.
Yeah.
Which is
or
funny.
Gendo threw it away, and Shinji just like grabbed it because it's probably like was from his mother's or something, and just like Gendo got rid of everything related to his mother and just took it.
Yeah, and we get that kind of connection between Shinji and his dad. It's like another connection.
But he goes to see Rei, who's just in like a little shack, like by a core.
She lives in like a fucking shanty like house,
and it pretty much mirror like the when he goes to her apartment where he like sees her naked and everything, like. But very obviously, this is not the same Rei. This is like Rei 3.
It's immensely clear, and Shinji is so stupid for not realizing it.
It's very obvious.
Because like in the original series, one thing I think is really interesting is Shinji immediately knows when he talks to Rei, he is like something is off. Like this is not the same Rei that I knew.
Yeah.
And in this, it's like the half the movie he's like in denial about it.
It's very like obvious. He's like, "What does like mean?" or something.
Yeah,
like
Rei is such baby mode. It's not even funny. She's like, she even says like, "Would Ayanami like to read?" It's like, Rei, stop talking about yourself.
That's very sus.
Third person.
I'm not robot. They just start malfunctioning and steam coming out of her head.
And so let's just talk about Rei now because there's also Kara
There's
stuff
not much
happening.
with Rei, so.
But Shinji makes like the gesture of like, oh, Rei loved to read, so he went and found a bunch of like rotted books.
Also,
and
she just
tried
goes,
to give it to her, and
she also repeatedly goes about like, "Oh, is that an order? That order?" I mean, it's also like a red flag of like her just being back to square one. Rei of just being even like his negative Rei, just like being like robot.
And he brings like hundreds of books to her, and she doesn't read any of them. And eventually, he's furious. He's like, "Why didn't you read this?" She's like, "Oh, you didn't order me to." And it's like, stop being weird, Rei. Stop playing weird sex games again.
Going through your weird phase. But yeah, and that's basically like all that happens with Rei, really.
Yeah,
like,
and then she's
literally just there. She's just like she's just like just someone who's following them around who doesn't.
She's just a tool. She's just a tool for Nerve, and
literal
like,
doll.
She kind of served her purpose.
Yeah.
By bringing Shinji, that's all that they needed. And I think it's really funny, like, later on. So, yeah, Shinji and Karu have their big connection. That's kind of, like,
we see
the meat of the movie.
Karu just playing a piano in the middle of a fucking ruins. It's very weird. But...
while we're talking about Rei, I just want to mention, like, Shinji's like, why don't you and Rei just, like, do this? Because you need two people. And he's like, Rei doesn't have a soul. Like,
she ain't got no soul.
He calls her, like, a facsimile of a Lilim or something, which is really interesting. I like that idea of, like, she's, like, a fake version of a human.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Shinji sees the sexy boy,
finally.
The boy of his dreams, playing piano song.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think like the original series, I wanted him to interact with Shinji more, so I can get more of a connection. I guess when the obvious split's gonna happen. And yeah, they I basically called it where like oh, this is building to do like a Asuka Shinji moment from the original series, and it did. Essentially, until it just didn't actually matter because they didn't do anything. Because once they got into combat, he had to go into menacing thinking mode.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Kind of a cop out because I wanted to see like them. I wanted to see what a 2-man pod could do when they actually like fight.
Yeah, we don't really. It's funny. I was surprised at how quick that scene ended. I thought that they were in that like area for longer. But this movie felt really short to me, personally.
I feel the opening thing felt like forever.
It did, yeah. I think once Shinji left Billy, it got a lot better. But
you get more of having a better thing for a relationship between Shinji and Condom Boy, and
it's just nice to see them finally connect and like given a little bit more time. I love the idea because something that Karu said in the original series is like how I think he says songs are the best things humans ever made. So having him like be. He views music as like a way to communicate with Shinji, and it's a way. And like Shinji has had such a hard time communicating with everyone in the movie. This like pure emotion of just doing what feels good is something for Shinji to actually like finally like connect with someone. It's kind of beautiful.
Shinji really learned how to play piano very fast though. Like he caught on very quickly.
Oh well, despite
not being good at anything.
14 years take place in this movie. Shinji's with him for 14 years learning piano.
No, he's not.
I'm kidding. You almost believe me.
You said Shinji play. Just like, oh yeah, you play the cello. I'm like, cello is so much not similar to.
But he can read music.
Yeah, there's reading music for a cello and reading music for a piano.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
No, it's not.
It's the same black and white notes, baby.
No, it's not gonna work like that.
Um,
But yeah. Whoa.
we're being attacked by
rain.
what's it called? Willie. Misato found us and she's mad.
But not expecting a heavy rainfall to appear.
Yeah, me either. Ooh, spooky.
Spooky. It was. But yeah, so we got what's it called? Basically, there's a lot of that. He's gonna fix his Walkman. And he just does, and
He just does, and it's fine.
yeah, and that's gonna lead to, I guess, the next mission. But and then there's some Gendo stuff in the background as well, where like he's doing Gendo things.
Yeah, the big thing is he actually, it seems like the members of Sele are like being held in life support.
I guess so.
And he basically says, "All right, guys, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do human instrumentality. Don't worry." And then he kills them all. He has Fuyutsuki turn their life support off.
They're talking. Their Zoom call, their Zoom meeting, like they just turn it off and that kills them.
It's weird because none of them really talk except the one guy at the very end.
So they're on life support, but their life support is from the green screen room.
I think maybe what happened is their brains are being held there because every time Fuyutsuki turns the thing off, you see like the MRI scan of a brain for like a second, and then it fades away.
I guess we've known only in the original series, not in this movie, where like Ritsuko's mom kind of put her brain into the computer.
Yeah, that's true.
But we don't get that in this movie, so it's kind of weird. Like, what the fuck? But yeah, we don't. But the Gendo's not really important because the only key moment is what's his name? His number 2.
Fuyutsuki.
Yes.
So that scene's actually really good.
Where he plays Japanese chess.
Yes, Fuyutsuki asked Shinji to play Japanese chess.
AKA Shogi.
I was very mad. Just tell me what the fucking game is.
Even though like Shogi is like the most like stereotypical like game in like anime and manga of like.
Yeah, if anyone is an Eva fan, they've probably fucking heard of Shogi. Like
I was like, you think of any popular like anime, you can probably name Shogi being an important thing. Like no Naruto, Shogi being important for a character arc. You can think of like a lot. What's it called? I'm sure like most like in
Totoro, there's the big Shogi arc.
Persona 5 has a Shogi girl.
That's true.
Like, yeah, but this is probably it's probably the thing I enjoyed the most in this movie was this. The most interesting thing is that he shows Shinji a picture of his mom.
Yes, which should not exist because
I think
Gendo threw everything away.
I double checked with you was like Shinji only ever saw his mom in the end of Eva congratulations scene. I'm pretty sure.
Also, when he was a baby, he saw her because he was like 3 years old.
He remembers her boob that he was sucking on.
It's true. He does remember that. Teeth.
But no, and then that was really fucking interesting. And then we get
he's basically kind of saying what Gendo's plan was, but also like the big thing was that it's like you can't really like fix things. Like we can't really, even with the power of the spears and everything, we can't like go back in time and stop this all from having happened.
Yeah.
So Shinji's like mortified by this. Like
also,
sorry,
probably the same thing about like so
we see Yui like entering Unit 1 as like an angel.
Yeah,
it's we never saw anything like that in the original series.
There's that, and then the fact that so Gendo in this one, Gendo does not take her last name; she takes Gendo's last name, and I don't like that.
Her last name's Ayanami, yeah, which I don't like that either. I think the fact that her name is Yui Ayanami is
because
it's just not a necessary or good change.
It's that you get. It's such a good thing because you understand why, like, how obsessed he is with his wife, essentially, like how much he loves, she means to him by him taking her last name. But so was Gendo's last name Aoyami in the original, or did we know?
No, it was something Tsuchihara
now
or
we
something.
Know,
it was like a different name.
They just gave her. So that's Rei's last name. So like I don't like. It's weird
because there's one thing of having the whole thing of like, oh, if it's a boy, we'll name him Shinji. If it's a girl, we'll name him Rei.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's like totally different when you're like retconning elements of the series. I don't know, because that was like such an important detail to Anna, or oh my god, I always do it, to Gendo.
Yeah, it's like you get Gendo, like I understand, like okay, this is why he did this is why like decision to make this, like why he named her like that. I just don't like him having her last name, because then it makes this romance thing that we've been like teasing in the last movie like weirder, like, a lot weirder now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's basically I said Shinji's like mortified, but he's got to go into the pit. He's basically going to like the where Lilith was held before, and like and then get the spears out of like the carcass, or it's like the shell of Ava 1 and the angel.
Yeah, it's funny though, because like Ava 1 was in space, so we have to wonder like what is this version?
It's like an ash, like a Pompeii like ash like shell, I guess. But also, they're piloting Ava 13.
Oh yes,
It
so
comes out of vagina.
They do have a birthing scene for Ava 13, which is as we talked about.
It's just an upgraded version of Unit 1 that's a dual pod. I don't understand like how. I guess they can just shit out new Ava, like fully armored Avas like this out of this flesh pod.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just epic.
I was wondering
it's
also.
Cool.
I mentioned like so. We know, like in the original Ava, like they needed like the ray blender to fuel like the pods. Essentially, the water in the pods is this ground up ray.
Potentially, it's not actually revealed. That's like the Sam fan theory.
Is it? I thought that was very clearly like stated that like.
I don't think it's ever confirmed where the LCL is from. Presumably they just synthesize it.
Yeah, we do see in that Shogi part. We do see like, all the heads of Ray and everything.
That's a really good image. I like that part.
But yeah, so you have like the mission to go get the spears. It's like a very unmonitored mission. It's weird. It's a very like I feel like this is just like a weird mission they're doing on their own. Then Gendo's like not really a part of anything here. He's just like waiting for them to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very weird to have people just doing stuff, and I don't see like them have. Right, there's always a reason for all of them to be doing the stuff, like the missions they're doing, because they always send Asuka and Mari just because they notice a signal like Ava activate, and like.
Yeah, and they so yeah, it just kind of leads up to like a big action scene where Asuka fights
Shinji,
and it's funny because I was gonna mention it during the scene, because like back when old Ava, the amount of battery that you had was always like a huge fucking deal.
Asuka runs out of battery and then just gets back up anyway.
Yeah, it's like she's able to like Mari drops her like a spare battery or something. It's just like that's like a small detail, but it feels like such a big departure, because like in Ava you always had to be plugged in.
The
like,
Ultraman rule.
Yeah, it was a big deal when you weren't plugged in because you had like limited time. And with this, Asuka enters the fight unplugged. And
they all fight unplugged.
Yeah, we actually see a scene in the very beginning where Mari like unplugs. We see the plug actually like jump out or like shoot off of her, but it's pretty unimportant. Oh, we know that's a little bit later. It's the climax when she uses her epic handgun.
There was one really funny moment though. I laugh when like they're descending. Like, hey, why is she? Like, oh, Ayami. Like, why is she here? It's like, oh, she just is a doll. We don't like her. Like, she doesn't need to be here. I'm like, it's like when you like break up with your ex and you come up with your new boyfriend trying to like
basically
shit on the other ex.
Yeah, the ex has no idea what's happening.
Like, is that in order to understand? But yeah, she has a cool scythe, and I really love that. I wish she used it. Because the fight happens.
There is like a figure that I've seen before of just Ray with a big scythe, and it's like the black suit Ray.
Ooh. But yeah. Fight happens. I'm not really impressed by this fight. I did like Shinji, his plug suit looks like the first angel that we see in the show. Like the standard first episode one. I thought that was pretty cool to have a design. And Ava, okay, so let's talk about...
it's kind of interesting that Shinji's kind of working for the bad guys here. If you think like Sele, or sorry, like Shinji is working for like Nerve and Sele, like when he's working against the will of like
he's working for them,
Misato.
But he's doing it for himself more so he's doing it for them because he's like, oh, I'm just gonna change the world back how it was. So let's talk about the Ava designs though. So what do you think of Unit 13's
Unit 13 is okay. I think it's fine. I think Unit 2's is my favorite though.
I do like a Frankenstein design of it being like put back together with duct tape and whatever parts you have lying around.
Yeah.
Mari's, I hate the design of the stupid pink thing with a stupid headpiece. It looks bad.
I kind of go back and forth. I eventually like. I mean, I
kept it in the dark for 90% of the movie. They just like put it in the dark with a sniper scope in front of it.
Yeah, I generally am not the biggest fan of the rebuilds, and then the more I watch them, the more I dislike them. But to be charitable, I think that like Mari's rebuild design, her mech's design is like
also just having a pink color scheme for
the fact that it's pink is really cringe.
It's not good. It's not good. It didn't look good.
It does. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like that it just has like a handgun.
If it's just,
it's very like. I don't know, Halo. It's like, okay, we live in a post-Halo society.
I don't know. She also has OC power. Like, I'm gonna use my sniper rifle, and I'm gonna like just do nothing for a majority of this fight and just like drink her gamer juice.
Yes, her gamer juice.
Her G fuel. Like I'm like, how are you drinking this? This whole thing's filled with liquid inside of it. How are you drinking it through the straw? Your drink should be nothing but the pod juice, right?
Oh yeah, you're right.
You shouldn't have drinks or snacks in there.
So. Maybe it's like a pressurized, like the container's pressurized.
We have no budget. We're like in an apocalypse kind of thing, but we have budget to.
She's thirsty, Sam. She's thirsty. She needs a drink.
She's in nothing but liquid.
Well, she's not gonna drink that. It's got like her.
She's defaultly
that
drinking
has like
it.
her pee and stuff.
Every time she talks, she's drinking the liquid.
I don't know about that.
Just like when you're underwater, Jim, when you open, you're gonna be drowning. You have water go into your lungs in some way.
Did you know that in like the I think 60s, what's that one government organization that's really scary? DARPA. DARPA actually did experiment with because it was for like pilots and like they experimented with using like liquid liquid inside your lungs for like pure oxygenization, like literally like LCL, how it like fills the tank with fluid, and it worked, but it wasn't as effective as like just breathing normally, so they stopped doing it. But it's real. It just like an Ava, it's real. Isn't that crazy?
Sure.
Imagine having your whole lungs fill up with liquid, and then you can still breathe. Like, oh, that's so crazy.
Horrible.
I can't remember. It wasn't liquid oxygen because that would like destroy you.
Also, Shinji no longer has the collar on him during this fight.
Yeah, so Karu takes it off and puts it on him, and he's like, "I'll be your sacrificial lamb, baby boy."
I'm like, can you just get rid of it though?
No, Sam, he had to be the sacrificial lamb.
He didn't have to be.
Apparently, he did.
But why?
Because he had to give
Jesus died for
yeah, literally. He had to do a gesture, a big gesture for Shinji.
But yeah, fight happens. I'm not like super.
Karu gets stun locked because he's like, no, there's supposed to be two different spears.
Oh,
not
the
same
old
spear.
switcheroo.
Literally, the old switcheroo happens again. And so yeah, Shinji takes direct control of the mech and then just grabs them both, which is not a good idea.
Shit happens.
It was a trap, I guess. Like
by who? I don't know.
So when he removes both the spears, like the Ray body like explodes with blood, and then similar to the end of Ava, like. It's when like he gets crucified by all the guys.
Karu's like, oh, we should just leave, and she's like, why? Like Karu says nothing. Like Karu, if you literally just explain why we should leave, he will leave. He will listen to you.
Yeah, well, Karu didn't know. I don't know. Karu got. Well, Shinji was also too blinded. He thought that he could like make things right by getting the spears. So. And
it goes horribly wrong. Fourth impact almost happens.
Willie comes back to fight. Asuka goes beast mode.
That was terrible. So in the last movie, Mari learns about beast mode and just does it. Off of this Ava she stole. No consequences. Asuka can do it. It becomes a fucking Zoid, or like, it becomes like a goat, like a beast war.
It's like a kind of a panther design.
It's like one of the pieces of Voltron that's like just a tiger leg. It's basically a part of like a Zord that would become a leg or an arm, and it's just like, I guess you can do this, and then she just blows it up anyway.
Yeah, so she's fighting Ray's mech, and
Ray doesn't do anything. She's just kind of like, she is literally just another drone on top of it that just floats around and shoots stuff, and then they just blow its head off and blow it up, because it's like, boo, you gotta destroy every part of it to like kill it, because the entire thing is the core.
Yeah, and they do.
Like I said, this is the first time in Ava where everybody's escape pod works, because Ray ejects, Asuka ejects, Shinji ejects, and it's just like, okay, I'm guessing this is happening.
Also, is it implied that Asuka like? Oh, I'm trying to think.
Oh, she was like. So, like...
Did she, like, save Ray? Did she kind of, like, save Ray? Or did Ray just get away, I guess?
I don't know, because Ray wasn't really in control of her suit, also.
Oh, we didn't even talk... So, Okay, so... The reason why Karu ends up dying is because the mech... So, the Ava that he came down on at the end of the second movie...
I do love the design of Unit 6.
It does look pretty cool. But when the spears are removed, it creates it turns it into an angel.
Yes.
And then it makes Karu also an angel. makes
but
Karu
he
the
says-
13th angel.
he says,
or the 14th angel.
How could I go from the first angel to the 13th? I'm like, what?
Yeah, I don't quite understand that
Huh?
either. But whatever. So that is one of the Karu moments where he's like, all right, well,
Hashtag Karu moment.
he's like, I guess I got to die anyway. And then his epic collar starts to go, and he's like, Shinji, I love you. Oh, he doesn't say that.
I do love the collar exploding scene. It's great.
It's cool. He just gives Shinji a little pep talk.
I like me a good explosive collar death scene.
It looks amazing. The way his head explodes, it's really visceral. And it's also like, it's really intense too, because like his original death scene had his head come off and splash in the water. And this is fucking neck explodes.
Karu has a great death and everything.
Yeah, I love Karu. He's really good in this. I like their piano scene.
And then bullshit happens, and
So Karu is like, all right, Shinji, like, don't worry, I'm gonna stop this. Like, I'll close the gates of Guff.
he dies. Supposed to stop the gates, and then Mario goes, "Oh no, the gates are not stopped."
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, that's what Mari. I think Mari is able to get Shinji out or something. Whatever.
Okay, yeah. There's a moment where like she gets in Shinji's face and like tries to give him a talk. I'm just like, you don't deserve this. I'm like, Asuka is like, if anybody should do that, I guess Asuka should be the one to talk to him. You literally just crash landed next to him, like, multiple times.
Boobs in face.
Yeah.
Was it boobs or crotch? It's probably boobs.
Probably both. Probably boobs, I think.
Boobs in face.
But then like she also had the moment where she conveniently crash landed him next to him in his panic room and just kidnapped him.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that does happen.
I'm just like, fuck you, Mari, go away.
Yeah, you see why I don't like the rebuilds that much. Can you say these now?
I don't like him by already, so
I think the last one might be the best one.
2.5 goddamn hours.
We'll see. We get to see it in a few days. Sam and I are gonna go see it
in theaters
live.
Oh.
Shinji's gonna be there. Asuka's gonna be there.
I can't shit talk it in the theaters though.
Sam's gonna be just like, come on. There's gonna be parts where you're gonna laugh out loud. I know it. I fucking know it.
When we make some boob jokes. Yeah, then
Mari's big old boobies hit the screen and they make the screen move.
Okay, somehow this movie there's a lot of butt shots, but it isn't nearly as many like side boob shots like the second one had. Like Ano's horniness
there's a couple.
Like somehow like was calmed a bit in this one compared to the last one.
Yeah, we see Shinji's ass, we see Karu's ass, we see
Asuka's ass.
We see Asuka's ass. They didn't have like a gratuitous sex Asuka shot like they did in the last one.
Yeah.
And spoilers, they do in the next one.
Oh boy.
It's one of those scenes where it's like,
is it for that figure I saw of Asuka's like fucking ripping her plexus ripping out?
No. They do like a similar like, oh, we're gonna look at Asuka's like vagina from like under like, yeah, it's like the shot from the second movie, like where she's like in bed and she's like straightening her underwear or whatever, and she does the pump.
And yeah, basically fourth impact is stopped. The movie basically ends with because everybody pieces out, and it's just like our three heroes that we don't love that are not like. Okay, it's like Rei is there, but she's not the Rei we should be following. Asuka is like not acting like I hate everybody. Asuka, this is Shinji's like completely mind broken.
Yeah, it's interesting. Asuka like has a chance to leave, and then she decides to bring Shinji back, and then like, okay, we have to walk on foot because the ships can't pick us up.
It reminded me of like, End of Ava, where they kind of wake up in like the apocalypse city, all red and everything. But instead of Shinji strangling, I should be Asuka strangling Shinji would have been very fitting and funny.
She said she just kicks him in the head,
and she and Rei comes with them, and I'm like, this is not the Rei though.
I mean, Shinji's like totally mind broken.
Yeah,
this is like the lowest Shinji's been. He drops his cassette player.
I'm assuming that Rei is going to pick it up.
Ooh, will we get some Rei development?
But like, it's weird. The next movie we have this Rei developing, and then not have any of other Rei developing, unless like End of Ava, where like she just has the memories of Rei before her suddenly in a split second, and then decides to go back to Shinji.
We'll see.
We don't have the Karu like being there as a romantic rival now, so. I don't feel anything if they keep doing with Asuka or like Mari. I want like the Rei stuff to be developed again because they kind of skipped it out completely in this movie, and I hate that. Too much. Yeah, and that says how it ends. There's an end, after credit scene of a ruby ass looking fight of half Asuka, half Mari, Ava, and I shrugged and rolled my eyes so hard at it.
So do you think we'll actually see that?
I hope. I mean, we didn't see Gendo in the Arctic, did we?
We saw almost nothing from the last one.
It's literally was just like a fucking proof of concept, like scene they had and just threw it in there.
It looks like an experimental.
I said it
looks like an in progress animation.
If you told me this was like a Monty Ohm like a YouTube video where he just did like a fight scene and that was it, and I would have believed you.
That's mean to Monty Ohm. His stuff looked better than that.
He did. He had better CG.
Yeah, he did. His choreography was better.
But yeah, I'm not looking. I'm not looking forward to even more CG because there was a lot of like ugly CG backgrounds in this one. This one, like,
oh, they were fine.
There was that one weird thing where Shinji's like having like the freak out moment, and it's just like It said it looked like real life photography, but they put CG filter over all the objects. They put the background into like a CG like AI generator of the backgrounds. Like, it looked off.
The part's kind of weird.
It's very weird.
Takes you out of it a little bit.
But yeah, I didn't care much about this movie. I felt everything was just very weird in this. Like, not weird in a good way, but weird in like,
yeah,
the story stuff is just off, and I still don't understand the pacing to do for these movies, and they're only getting longer, and I'm still having that problem with these movies.
I'm tempted to agree. I think that they just kind of are all over the place. They don't really know what they want to do.
I'm like not.
They're too. They just like they're more interested in like keeping the Ava fans guessing and curious than they are about like resolving anything.
Because when crazy bullshit happened, it wasn't like a million term, or they say with one term, but this one's like, we're throwing all these terms at you where you still don't understand what they mean because not explained at all. Like, what the like we still don't understand what the Dead Sea Scrolls are really fucking.
We kind of know what they are.
Kind of, but they just like it's the prophecies are on them, and we have the Nazareth, like remember the. It was like when the other spears.
Nebuchadnezzar. The key of Nebuchadnezzar. That was gestured towards in this movie. It wasn't really mentioned. Presumably, it's something that Gendo needs to do something.
It's just like Anno wants to keep going on his weird, vague terms and like objects and everything. Like even his like long technology stuff was like longer than it normally is and should be. Like the whole like them on what's it called, on the ship, they spent way too much time getting the ship prepped up. I'm like, this is even too long for Gendo. For Anno.
I know, I keep doing that too.
I know.
I just think like it's I don't know, this is such a fan theory, but I really feel like Anno has less of a hand in this than they want us to believe. I feel like the other guy,
I can see that,
whoever the co-director is really like taking lead, because I was going to wait and tell you this later, but I'll tell you this now. So there has been discussion. Anno says that he's finished with Ava. He's after the second or the fourth. He's done with Ava. He doesn't want to touch it anymore. But the co-director that did 3 and 4 says that he's interested in doing a prequel movie of the events that happened between the 14-year time gap.
Okay.
Which I'm extremely uninterested in. I don't want to see Ava done anymore. You haven't finished it yet, but the last movie is very climactic.
If it was that 14-year gap and I didn't have Mari and Asuka there just with them, like maybe I'd be interested more to see like them having to fight weird angels or Avas like by themselves. But I think it's just spaceship porn of just them shooting blasters and guns at.
Yeah, it's like in Ava, what made that stuff so special was all the buildup, like the buildup of like the big Japan sniper rifle, all of the power of Japan.
Yeah.
That makes it so much cooler than if it was just like the sniper that Mari uses in this movie. Like I don't care about that.
All that build up was to have like the ship fly up, and I'm not like to a really dumb design with their battleships also just flying on invisible strings. I'm like, I guess, and then the sniper mission was like them having to go through the realistic steps of like we got the power, we had to see the power of all of Japan, we got it all the wires, like seeing all the little things going in there. It's not like it takes time, but you see a bunch of different things leading up to it, where it's just like them not just saying technological babble.
Yeah, and it makes the climax so satisfying.
Here's our new side characters.
Whereas this is like, it feels like they're setting up for like a season of anime.
Yeah, as I said, all those side characters on that ship felt like side characters, like in a show,
like a separate series.
Yes.
Like
we watched the new Gundam series, like you see all the side characters flash, and like, okay, these are our characters that we're going to get along with. We're like over the series, and this
I know that I'm going to see more of this character. Where in this movie you don't see any of the characters again near the end.
You ever watch a show that had an episode where there is obviously the pilot for a separate series are trying to get made?
Yeah.
It felt like that scene of like, here's all our side characters, here's a little bit of their quirks, and here's some of the returning characters, like. and it just like, and then just not interested at all after seeing that.
Yeah.
It felt like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, let's not follow Misato or Asuka in that section, and Toji's sister, and like anything with that.
Yeah, and it's kind of the problem is that it just focuses on Shinji, where with the original series we got a lot of time with Misato and we got that development, but then this movie just doesn't have the time for it.
Yeah, and Shinji gets like literally gets rescued like right after like every like it just happens so quickly. Like, hey, enough of that shit. You're going over here now.
Eren retrieval arc.
Yeah, like it could have been like a movie with Eren with them, and then do a third movie or a fourth movie with Shinji with Nerve, and then had the fifth movie be the climax kind of thing. Like build it up both sides and then they had the clash, and then, but no, I don't know. I feel like I said, pacing it's just very off in these movies. Like I have no idea what's happening. Like I'm sure people had the fucking like conspiracy theory like map going on to explain what's happening, but I'm not into it nearly as much as the original Ava was, where I can like, vaguely understand it. If I had any questions, I can double check with you, and like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then, but this one, I'm like, Jim's like, you don't even know some points in this.
Yeah, there's a lot of this shit that I just kind of I don't pretend to know because I don't know. Like this is maybe a reductive take, but it doesn't feel like as much care was put into the rebuilds as the original series, and I feel like that's mean. It's almost mean to say, but like
I feel like the second movie, or the second rebuild, felt like the most like care. I think compared to this one to the third one, where like there was obviously wanted to do some more character stuff.
They wanted
Rey.
to like properly resolve like Rey as a character.
And I said if they just cut the Mari stuff and just focus more on like maybe cut the Mari stuff and put Asuka into that role.
Mm-hmm.
It would, and give her that screen time. Maybe it'd probably be better to have equal character to like have a couple more like those, because we only had the Asuka goes into Shinji's room and talk to him, and that was a way better than it was. Like it was a really good moment for her, and you don't get anything else after that.
It was like a real development moment.
Yeah, cut the Mars up and have her be that, and they're gonna be way better.
Yeah. I will say too, like my little comment about them not caring as much. I feel like that's not true about the last one. I feel like they really do care. Like they show a lot of like giving a shit energy for that one.
I hope so.
It's hard to explain. I mean, I'm without sounding really reductive, but I don't really have anything else to say. I wasn't really like jazzed about I was really excited to watch this until we started, and then I just was like, oh yeah, I don't really like the first part of this movie. And then once the Karu stuff happened, I was like,
if I'm riffing,
waiting for them.
If I'm riffing through 90% of this movie, it's not a good. It doesn't have me like into it.
If it wasn't Ava, you wouldn't be watching it.
Yeah.
You would stop watching.
Yes. I would not be interested. Like, I like me some weird shit that goes off the rails, like, stuff, but, like, this is just, like, not interesting, and, like, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Should I compare it to Fully Cooley, like,
I mean, it's not unapt to make that.
Like, the sequel series where, like, the heart's not, like, or they don't, like, maybe understand 100% of, like, what we want to see more of.
Yeah, like the crew is so different, and like the state of the crew is so different,
and having like weird variations of characters we've seen before. Like, yeah, that's. I feel like I have nothing really else to say about it. I basically said and or repeated in different ways of what I felt about this.
Yeah, it's not fun to just be like negative the whole time.
Yeah, I said the two things I think it's a very mid. I guess I'm trying to think of a rating like of this movie. Like I think I still like the second one more. This one's kind of like not as good. I want to see the stuff I like. I think Masato. Didn't see Masato. I want to see more Rey. Didn't get the Rey I wanted to see. Like it just everything was just disappointing, and I'm not sure. I think you're the third time watching it. I
think so, three or four.
And like every time you've watched it, has your opinion of this gone down?
Probably not. I think I didn't like it, and then I feel like not didn't like it, but I feel like I grew to like it more. And then this time watching it, like the original series is just so fresh in my head that anything comparing to it is just not really gonna stack up.
Yeah, it's just weird to have. Yeah, I think you mentioned, but like the weight of the mechs don't feel as they used to, where you felt the weight, or they moved fast. You see it affecting the fucking city, like when they had when Shinji's running for the catch the one angel, you see like the fucking windows blow out and like shit shake.
Yeah, that scene's incredible. And with this, it's like, and I think it's not the CG Mechs problem or an issue with the CG Mechs, because they did that with the CG Mechs in 2 and it looked fine, but they don't have that same like energy. That doesn't capture that energy
Like,
the original series had with the massiveness of the mechs.
The opening scene with Asuka like in space or like very high in the atmosphere. Like I didn't like. I had no idea I could tell what was going on in that fight.
Yeah, it wasn't a very fun fight, and it just becomes like, it's like kind of like the Michael Bay thing where it's like there's always like all these
porn, machine porn going on.
Yeah,
where
there's just like a million things on screen, and like sure, technically it's impressive to see, but I'm ultimately confused and I can't really focus on it. Whereas like when Asuka kills all the mass production Evas, like the action is so like focused and visceral that it like is extremely impactful and memorable.
Yeah, but yeah, probably nothing else to say about it. Then have you?
No, I'm like it's okay.
And
it's
people
fine.
do people think this is the worst one?
People probably think. I haven't really heard too much about the newest one. There was a lot of like really favorable opinions coming out initially, but I like to wait a bit because people need to like sit with things. Get
that first drop or that new shit, like, oh, it's so great, so amazing. Then once you have it simmered,
the recency bias.
Yeah.
Wait for that to fade. Because Eva is such like an emotionally charged series that I know a lot of people like are immediately just gonna enjoy it.
A lot of series have that stuff where like after you let it sit, like people's viewpoints can change to their mostly. Like I feel like it's all like Part 8 probably had that, and like and it probably I was like Attack on Titan had that, but
it's like the reverse.
But all right.
But yeah, all right. Well, do you want to send them out?
Yeah.
Well, join us next week for.
Well, plug it up.
For next time.
What am I plugging up then?
The
gaping hole
in Kara's neck.
Thank you all for listening. If you haven't already, like the video, subscribe, comment your opinions on this movie and where it ranks in the rebuild, I guess.
Yeah, tell us your hashtag rebuild ranking. Let's wait for the last one. Tell us what you think of this one. Do you think we are being too negative or no?
I don't know. Then maybe I'm more negative 'cause I literally just finished the series and like went right into this, and maybe that's why I'm way more where people were like starved with content and literally would just need it to be filled. Their mouths just had to be like shoved in there with more content and just loved it.
Yep.
But you can also follow the podcast on Twitter or be a Jim separately, and you can also join our Discord. And with that, I think we'll see you next time on the finale of the Ava cast.
Yeah, I think that'll be the last time we do one of these.
And then
unless they make a new movie.
And oh boy. And then after that, I think hopefully we have JoJo Land's news this month or in December. And I think in the fall season we'll have I think I gotta double check what's in the new season because we have Jujutsu Kaisen for next year and
next fall. Oh, that's so
not next fall. It might be winter season. I have to double check what anime to come out winter because we still have.
If it's winter, that means it's starting in like 2 weeks.
We have more Chainsaw Man coming at you. We're gonna have Jujutsu Kaisen next year. We have Attack on Titan most likely next year. Like Fully Cooley probably next year.
Oh my god, I forgot there's more Fully Cooley.
Grunge, yeah, and Shoegaze.
Grunge and Bunge.
Like we have a lot of series coming back at you.
Yeah.
So, and who knows whether picks will do for new anime to just bullshit about. Because we'll have part 6 batch coming out.
Very true. Very true.
So we'll probably have those in December as well. I'm not sure how the release schedule was last time for those, but
I think I did them weekly. I think I did them on Fridays.
But yeah, a lot of good stuff coming up. So
very excited.
And with that, I guess we'll see you at 3.0 plus 1.0.
Correct. All right. Bye.
Bye.